Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And obviously, this is a very somber time. On Saturday, yesterday, an attempt was made to take the life of former President Donald Trump. Anytime such an event happens, it is a blow to the psyche of our nation. This horrific event is indicative, it seems to me, of the great divide that we have in our nation at this particular time. The rhetoric that has become far, far too common, the rhetoric that smacks of violence, when our current president said just a few days ago that Donald Trump, or that a quote, crosshairs needs to be put on Donald Trump. And now, just a few days later, a crosshair was put on Donald Trump. Is there a cause and effect? I'm not going to make that claim, but it simply points out how leaders, public leaders, should be careful in their rhetoric. It's really sad to me that one side of the aisle constantly accuses the other of rhetoric of violence, and then they turn around and they stand in front of the Supreme Court, for instance, and they say the Supreme Court is going to, quote, reap the whirlwind, unquote, and we're coming after you, unquote. If conservatives made those kind of statements, if conservatives said, we need to have Joe Biden in the crosshairs, they might be arrested. That's not to justify, by any stretch of the imagination, language on the right that is suggestive of violence. I haven't personally heard a lot of that, but my point is that the level of rhetoric in America from our leaders needs to be toned down. There needs to be, shall I say, a return to respectful dialogue. Each side is supposed to be the, quote, friendly opposition, unquote. And yet there is currently an environment of bitter rancor, of anger and division. And now it is climaxed in this incredibly sad event. I'm really at a loss for words as I contemplate the situation that our nation finds itself in right now. And it seems that some people are willing to do anything whatsoever to retain power. And that speaks of danger ahead. We need to have our country in our prayers. We need personally to be using respectful dialogue. We need personally to not be using any kind of rhetoric of violence by implication or by overt statements. You know, I would never, ever, ever publicly make some of the comments that I have heard from leading politicians in Washington made on public platforms. The insulting language, the derogatory language, and yes, the threatening language. You know, I wish Donald Trump would never have used the terminology that if I am elected again, there's going to be a bloodbath. I believe that was totally inappropriate. He should have, he could have, and should have qualified very well what he meant by that. But he didn't. He left it hanging. That's inappropriate. So there's plenty of fault to go around. But we are at a nexus, it seems to me, in our country. Each of us needs to participate in lowering the heat and engaging with our political opponents respectfully, courteously, but using facts, not lies, not misinformation, but with facts. We need to be allowing logic and facts and history and reality to win the day, to win debates, and not in any way whatsoever encouraging violence. Let's have our nation in our prayers. The world is watching. They're watching to see what's going to come of this. I mean, already on CNN, some of the commentators were actually criticizing Donald Trump for his fist pump and urging his followers to fight. Now, was he encouraging them to literally, physically fight? No, I certainly didn't take it that way. But these CNN reporters, because of their overt bias and hatred for Donald Trump, were saying, oh, that was totally inappropriate. Okay, what would they do in the circumstance? The bias here, the overt hatred of Donald Trump, well, they call it the Trump syndrome, Trump hatred syndrome, is glaring. So, I felt like I needed to take just a few moments here to express myself personally. I've had people in the past tell me, you need to not make any comment whatsoever on politics. Well, guess what, folks? It's my channel. It's my YouTube. If you do not like my comments, you are more than at liberty not to watch. You can even hit the unlike button for that matter. And I'm not speaking disrespectfully. That's your right. That's your freedom in America. But it's also my liberty, my freedom to express my concern for my nation and to make recommendations for all of us to be more amicable, to be more courteous, to be more respectful to our friends and our neighbors who disagree with us. Now, how anyone could criticize me for that, well, that's up to them, all right? It is what it is, and it gets back to the fact that, you know, if we have the freedom of speech, if we have the freedom of expression in this country, which we do ostensibly, then guess what? That means that others have the right to express the contrary position. Okay? So if you don't like what I say, you have the right to say so. It doesn't mean that you have the right to tell me to shut up, while you have the right to tell me to shut up. See the problem? So, I'm not going to apologize for taking this time today to make a comment on the horrific events of Saturday. I think I said yesterday. I'm filming on Sunday. I just feel so discouraged by what has taken place. The tragedy that at least one rally attendee was killed, evidently instantly, by the attempted assassination of Trump. 2 others are in critical condition. Folks, how evil do you have to be to have total disregard for the innocent attendees and their life, so as to just start spraying lead, killing, hopefully, in your view, Donald Trump? But hey, if you kill others, big deal. How evil do you have to be to have that attitude? It is horrific. It's unbelievably horrific that someone is so evil, so distorted, so perverse in their own thinking that they would even do such a thing as to attempt to assassinate a presidential candidate or any politician or anyone for that matter. How corrupt do you have to be? I have lots of questions about what happened. I have lots of questions about the security. I have lots of questions about why someone could be so evil and so corrupt, and how. Most of all, I am concerned for our nation. So let me say again, in closing, I'll get back to our Bible study tomorrow. I want to urge everyone to pray for kings, for governors, for all that are in authority. 1 Timothy chapter 2. Not only that we may lead quiet and peaceable lives, but that the future of our nation will be more secure. That we can indeed live in peace with our neighbors. We are living in dangerous times. It is up to us as individuals to make our nation safer, to abhor, to reject, to criticize, and to condemn all political violence. Those are my comments here on Morning Musings for Sunday, July the 14th, 2024. I'll see you on the flip side.